I'll just do that there.
All right, cool. Sydney, Brisbane, hopefully you can hear as well. If not, let us know. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for your time. I wanted just to revert to one thing that Jim said, I think, just to reiterate. The CDP itself is not the end product necessarily, it's a combination of products. And what I personally found interesting was that we already today on the market implement most of the elements. Like if you think about the technology that Jim was demonstrating, there's a lot of capability that's available GA today for our customers, and I'm sure that most of you work on some of these elements, if not. I'm personally super excited about Datarama when they joined us, and I did the training course for partners actually. I couldn't stop talking about that for about 2 weeks, and my teammate said you need to really drop it because you just don't shut up. So it's a good fun. If you haven't tried it, probably will give you a chance very, very soon. Now, the topic for me today was really talking about the differences between Pardot and Marketing Cloud. But before I even dive to that, right, the reason why we bring that conversation back in is we did a bit of analysis on the market, and we've seen that we kind of dropping the balls with Pardot altogether. So there's two marketing capabilities within the Salesforce platform, and a very simple message was always Pardot is B2B and Marketing Cloud is B2C. Like it's a kind of very simple way to simplify that and differentiate that. There is much more to that, and quite often you'll find that we've got customers who are businesses and we still implement Marketing Cloud for them. And there are customers who are B2C, like clean slate retailers and banks and whatnot. So they're talking to end consumers, and we still implement Pardot for them. And when you kind of start diving into the capabilities of each of the products and trying to understand, well, why would conceptually do I want to consider two different products? That's where it becomes really a challenge to explain to, number one, to us technicians, and number two, to end marketers. So we try to kind of analyze and build the path forward, but even internally, I think it takes a while for us to adopt that mentality and really understand the differences. And ideal dream is, I always ask them, like, can we just give two products for the same price or for one price? Because then we don't have to discuss the challenges of do I use that or that. With that kind of mentality, we start putting together sort of ideas, how can we express it? So my trip last year, sometime a year, was in Korea, and funny enough, the guys from PwC asked me with a translator to explain them the difference. And I did it with a whiteboard. It took me about 5 minutes to kind of high level give them the drive, the indication with translated, later picking it up. But it took away, and it was really quite successful. So we put together a few slides, but then even further, the team internally of program architects who kind of look after a lot of customers on advisory, they start collating even better materials to visualize that. And it was really cool because it kind of confirmed our point of view and our line. So that's what I want to share with you today, is really talk about these two products. Now, can I just raise a hand here in Melbourne? Who knows what Pardot is altogether before I even dive into it? Okay, so most of you, that's great. If you don't know, Pardot essentially came up as a product that's built on the Salesforce platform. So it is a technology that sits on the core CRM platform. It does provide you additional capabilities to do communications. It's marketing capability. The biggest kind of focus for me, and the way I simply explain it, it's a very sales user-driven product. It's very easy to use comparing to Marketing Cloud. It's intuitive, and to be honest, it's a shame to admit that, but sometimes it's more intuitive than Marketing Cloud. If you just really, someone who is not deep dive into marketing, who can just, I want to build a landing page. You dive into the product, there are menus, you go there, you build a page, great. And it is designed to be that way. Marketing Cloud, on the other side, provides much more capabilities to do a lot more. And at the same time, it comes up with extra complexity to drive that. So you've got more power and more capabilities and responsibilities.
Hey, Vlad.
Yep.
I just like the screen. We can see your screen. We can see you only.
We'll give us a second. We'll fix it in a sec. Thank you for telling us. Okay. So they see us, but not the screen.
You look all right, by the way.
Thank you. Always like comments on that. I'm trying to lose some weight. So number of times in the discussion we're kind of coming to the point of, you can use Pardot at the start, you can use Pardot at the end, you can mix them up somehow.
We see the screen now?
Yep.
And we just need to go a few slides back. Back. A bit more. And more.
Yep.
That's it.
Beautiful.
Perfect. So in this case, if you look into the life cycle of the customer and the way the arrows are done, like in the middle you can see kind of getting the blue, and we representing it as a core platform, naturally always been blue, and marketing is on the left and on the right. So if you think about capabilities of Marketing Cloud, it's a really great product or combination of products that you can use to drive awareness across the customers, utilizing different tools and channels, right? So we've got things like DMP where we can address devices, not even people. We're just really talking and broadcasting message out there. We've got social capabilities we can use, Advertising Studio, push something on Facebook, all great. So it's a communication about building awareness of the brand. It's traditional marketing, we're just trying to get people to be aware of the brands. And now when it comes down to the nurturing, that's where that sort of mix comes into real good play. So you need to understand, looking at the customer use cases, whether or not the sales team, the people who sell the products, the services, the goods, what the case is, effectively, how closely do they work with the end consumers? So if they do spend their time calling people, meeting them, and talking to them, and trying to identify what is the best use of their time, then Pardot really stands up. We have a great capability of scoring that's embedded into that platform that allows, with the use of artificial intelligence, highlight the best time for the salespeople or best customers for the salespeople where they should be really investing their time. So it's really a sales motion tool. It helps us to nurture, it helps us with the solicitation, it helps us that nurturing step where you're nearly there and we just need to convince you to make that final decision to make the purchase. It does kind of come into the comparison when you talk about B2B or B2C. This is, again, it's not necessarily B2B, B2C. If you have a big sales sort of motion within the B2C customer, but they still have like a dedicated people that they need to talk to, Pardot could be very, very beneficial. In some cases where you might mix Pardot with Marketing Cloud, and that's exactly it. We're building awareness, we're straight away getting these leads, we put them into the Salesforce through the Pardot, and we start talking to them closely and really getting almost to that one-to-one conversation from salesperson to the end consumer. That's where the Pardot really excels. Once we get to the point of having mass communications, even they could be one-to-one personalized, but it is really automated stream. All of these journeys are kind of done in the way that we're broadcasting that in a huge volume at scale. This is where the Marketing Cloud stands up. Once we see the conversion, once the customer effectively or prospect made the conversion, they made the purchase, they subscribe for the service, that most of the time it goes out of the sales team into the mainstream marketing, as I call it. And that's exactly where Marketing Cloud picks up. And as you all know, automations, journeys, and whatnot really kicks in. So we start talking about 2 million audience base. We ingesting them into the journeys, breaking down into the batch sends and whatnot. So if you think about these products in that case, then you can see potential. You should be able to identify the potential where you can play that if you're talking to your customers before they talk to their consumers. Some of the examples where we did, I don't want to call the names out, but there have been a couple of customers I personally work with, and when they ask us for advice to use one or the other, or both, the answer was simple enough for me because I was in services. So I said, I don't care about the money point. It's kind of like beyond the conversation. So if you take away the licenses, we just explain them how they can use Pardot at the start, and then how they can use Marketing Cloud from that point of prospect, and they become potentially a customer, and then we communicate with them as a customer all the time. That's not always true either, right? Because the customers can come by and do the upsell with another service, another product. They might be getting down to the point where they're effectively finishing up their subscription of the service. So when they get again into that nurture stream, which sometimes is marketing, mainstream marketing, but at some point in time we can realize, well, nothing really works. We just need to call the guy or the girl and talk to them and make sure that they come back and continue their subscription with us. So again, it's another feedback to the Pardot. So think of these prospects as not just lead contacts in the simple terms. It's not necessarily unknown customers. It's just the way we're engaging with them. So if there is a close relationship between sales team and the end consumer, that's where Pardot excels. Outside of that, that's really probably where Marketing Cloud kicks in. If you're talking about just technical side of things here, just to highlight that when we discussed, there have been a number of can the Pardot feed into Marketing Cloud and whatnot. We're really kind of looking into that if you talk about platform offering. And that's why I said my personal point of view is like we should just have both products in the same package. Because if people want to use lead scoring, Pardot is there. It does it really well. It has artificial intelligence embedded into that. It's cool. If you go into the mainstream stuff, then Marketing Cloud kind of kicks in. And depending on the edition, people can choose what they need to use. So a combination of both going through the CRM provides us the ability to access the same data and be able to use it when we need it. So if we need to use contact information into Marketing Cloud, we use it. If we need to feed it back into the Pardot, again, we update context and it kind of flows back into the Pardot. So that's the technical flow here. And as you can see, there is slightly different sort of points, like the lead scoring sits with Pardot. We've got web behavior kind of sits in Pardot because we can track down the email opens. We can see whether or not people clicking and downloading the content from the Pardot. So there's a lot of tracking embedded into it. And last I wanted to show you is, by all means, not the comprehensive, and I think we're sharing this after the session, so you'll be able to get access to that. But just highlight some of the capabilities and where these products are kind of coming up, and there is a bit of crossover between them. As I said, Pardot itself, and I don't know if you guys know that, but Pardot is used to be using Marketing Cloud as an engine to actually deploy messages. So even though it was sitting on the CRM platform as a user interface, there's a different database, but the same engine was still done through Marketing Cloud, ExactTarget at the time. So this table kind of highlights that this a bit of a crossover. And again, you can build emails, you can build dynamic emails, you can build landing pages, dynamic pages in Pardot and Marketing Cloud. You can do journeys in both places. They are slightly different. And the biggest difference what I found is, like, personally, because I had to go through the Pardot training myself, to kind of at least know what I'm talking about and experience the product. And I'm using that day to day now in my role. It is different from Marketing Cloud. It's really intuitive. Like, as I said, for me, it was really surprising that you can drop any user, and within a couple of days, they will understand how to follow the steps to create and do something. That was a big difference. But when we start looking into the scale, like even for us, looking into communication with a bunch of our partners that we have in the ecosystem, creating landing pages for the events and stuff, I'm finding spending more time personally doing that at scale. So I have to kind of spend a bit of time to build a page, to build a form, link them together, build a list if I need to. And when I always think about all of these steps, if I would be doing it in Marketing Cloud, that would have been done already. So there is a bit of a difference. So be mindful of that, but technically there's a difference. There's a difference in terms of what you can do and what you can achieve. But if you look into those, like, simplified high level, both tools provide the communication capabilities. Pardot sits in CRM space, so you'll find that it needs to have a Sales Cloud embedded with that, because otherwise there is no sense to use it. It's kind of like almost embedded into sales cases. And it is heavily a user-oriented product. Marketing Cloud, to me, is more of a technical marketer product, where you've got a mixture of developers, marketers, sort of trying to come together, and if we start looking into broader sort of product spectrum, we actually start introducing more and more skill sets that you need to have to be really saying I'm a Marketing Cloud expert. So things like Diorama, DMP, they all kind of require their own domain expertise, and it's really heavily sort of embedded into bigger, broader picture. So I think that's sort of a quick summary. Again, a bit of an overlap, and I mentioned most of these things already. We'll focus on that. If anyone has any questions, that's probably a good time to start asking. Yes.
As far as verticals where you find Pardot and Marketing Cloud working best together, from what you said, I consider something like FinServe being a place where it worked really well. Where else do you see it working?
Cool. So the question is looking into the industries where a combination of both worked well. So yes, one of the use cases we have was financial services. I think when we look into that a bit more, B2B2C as well, which fits into that. So you can really look into any service where there is an interaction with the end consumer. As I said, like, we did a couple of implementations where I was personally involved into that, but I know that there are more where we're combining both products. They just serve a different purpose and they play a different role. And that's really what drives the combination of it. Once you know, I think the only other thing to say is if you're looking into Pardot, I found it was really beneficial having Marketing Cloud experience and knowledge to kind of come into the tool, because a lot of the, like the conceptual understanding why you do things is there already, and you're just learning a new product. And you'll find that email build, like landing pages build, is very, very simplified in that case. So it's really cool to use. There are no that extensions that unfortunate, so you don't have that flexibility of the data model. And you need to kind of rely and understand how Sales Cloud is operating with Pardot. And that's one of the other things to say. If you guys want to consider yourself looking at investing time into Pardot, I personally found that combination of understanding of Sales Cloud kind of profile for people who would be beneficial for implementing Pardot are really Salesforce core sort of specialists who know Sales Cloud. They can understand the sales process, the rules, the workflows, the triggers behind that, and kind of justify how it fits in. But when going consultancy on Pardot, it's really truly marketing. So that's where there's a lot of opportunity on the market today. We might have customers who implemented the tool, but they haven't going forward. So they build a couple of journeys, great. They start with a few emails, that's fantastic. And then no one educates their sales team. They should be using it and going. So that process is never there. And right now, like, there's a lot of opportunity really to kind of take that space and invest into that if you're looking into that. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hey, a couple of questions. One, from an implementation timeline, level of detail, complexity, skill sets involved. I'm just curious to know if you can comment on Marketing Cloud typical implementation compared to Pardot. And then I guess the second question I have is a little bit more on the business case side. So even I was at a company 5-6 years ago. We were on Marketing Cloud that's specifically looking at Pardot for lead routing, lead scoring, marketing qualified leads, that sort of whole piece. How are you seeing clients' business case Pardot specifically? Because I think you've got 3 editions. The middle one sits at about $2,500 a month. So, what types of conversations are you having with clients as relates to Pardot?
I'll probably take the second question first. So the question is, how do we talk to customers about different Pardot editions and how do we differentiate that? I honestly don't know that, or don't have an answer right now. Like, I'm not in sales role, so I can't really say, like, how do we differentiate editions per se. New to that part of the business in terms of licensing. In terms of product itself, it's easier to talk because really kind of becomes a feature conversation rather than the actual price point and license. The first question was like timeline to implement and the difference between Marketing Cloud and Pardot. So Marketing Cloud, as you know, it could be very different from customer to customer and size. And I'll speak probably roughly, like if we think about just pure implementation, if you take average, let's say 60% of the customers that we have, they might be going somewhere between 1 month and 3 months. That's implementation to go live. Right, I'm not talking about long-term investment into ongoing strategy optimization and really going from crawling to running. That's to me a longer-term investment. Pardot takes from Sales Cloud implementation first. So you need to consider how the CRM side of things is implemented in the timeline. Once that's in place, then you can start using Pardot and build it into the process. Because technically, Pardot configuration is super easy. There is not super technical. It doesn't require like a lot of extra technicalities to build some stuff. So you're getting into the point of building assets, you're configuring the journeys. You do rely on data model because you do need to figure out what attributes you want to capture, and it kind of feeds into the context and the model and so forth. So that's where it becomes important. We'll have to look into what the average time frame for that would be. Like it could vary, I guess, in the same ways. It could be very depending on the business size, I guess. That's the other story. And again, the Pardot, to me, looks very similar to Marketing Cloud. You can stand up an instance, you can configure it, you can start sending. They do have a concept of the same as Marketing Cloud. So IP warm-up needs to be in place. And yes, you're not talking to like 10 million customers on the day one. Still need to kind of be aware of that. But it's more of what communications do we need to go live with, what messages do we need to build, landing pages if we need to. And then I'm thinking it's more adoption side of things and really looking into, okay, look, today we implemented these couple of touch points, couple of campaigns for you. What's next? And educating customers around, can they take all of that rather than kind of think it through, we're going to be doing that for you. Or maybe it is the case where to manage service, we're going to lead it for you in the same way as Marketing Cloud. And I think that's my personal point of view on that, on the market today, is that's what we're missing. We need more people who can talk to customers how to use Pardot ongoing after that deployment went through, after they went live, and what do they do with that. So I'm not sure if it's exactly answers the question, but hopefully it helps.
Well done.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Is it possible to implement lead scoring without Pardot?
Oh, lovely question, right? So the question is it possible to implement lead scoring without Pardot? I guess like a Salesforce solution, you can say yes, everything is possible, right? That's the right way, right? So the question is really, number one, why would you want to do that? Number two, is that the right way? Funny enough, so one of the sessions that I did, one of the consultants came back to me maybe in a month's time, and she asked for the examples of how to do that in Marketing Cloud. And there is somewhere, if you Google it on the web, there is an interesting article, one of the guys, I can't remember who exactly, but there are 5 different ways they describe how to build a list scoring in Marketing Cloud. So you can use like journey, contact update, you can use some other things to kind of keep it. It's more of, it is possible to a degree. Like what I found, Pardot gives you almost predefined answer what scoring should be, right? It relies on the specific events, and you can configure it, you can tinker with them, you can put the different weights across them. So if you open an email, it could be a score of 5 or it could be a score of 50, right? That's where the differences are. So you really need to think on what my strategy is, what are the key important points, and adjust that score to make it relevant for that particular customer. So these platforms are pretty fine. They're relatively easy to build into. So like if you download, if you go on the page, if you register on the page, they're built into the product. Now, if you can build that, you absolutely can do that, but it becomes, why do you want to build a new sending engine? It does make sense in some cases. I think actually with Jim, and he'll hold me honest to that, we had a customer where we considered to use Audience Builder at the time as our lead scoring tool. So we had a specific events that we asked for to be considered and weighted into the model. And effectively, it's almost building the BI tool to kind of judge who the customer is and where they are and how many scores they've done across the last 3 months and whatnot. So yeah, it is technically possible. It just becomes a data management process that you need to build somewhere. The question would be, where would you do that, and how would you expose it to the, targeting and segmenting engine?
We've got a question here in Brisbane.
Yep.
Either in Marketing Cloud or Pardot, is there any ability to store anonymous or unknown data as part of the...
Sorry guys, we can't hear you. You need to be louder. Somehow.
So as part of the Marketing Cloud or Pardot, is there an ability to capture web anonymous data? Like if we look other marketing automation platforms such as Marketo, they can collect the cookie data or anonymous data at the start. Does Marketing Cloud or Pardot have that ability?
So if I understand correctly, the question is, can either of the products capture the anonymous data? Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Cool, great. So Marketing Cloud, you use web analytics with that. If you do need to collect that information, you can use predictive intelligence. That's one of the products, so I think it's called now web recommendations and email recommendations. So you can use JavaScript to collect that. Pardot does have its own tracking code as well. So if you look into that, and that's why I said sometimes it's easier because for landing pages, it actually gives you history, people visiting page and then people visiting page and filling out the form, and it gives you a different score. So we do collect that information. It's more of intent. What do you want to do with that, and how do you want to use that? But there's a features there.
The scenario that we're working for a client is, as part of the initial B2C scenario, being able to collect the unknown data for specific devices, and once they get converted into leads, at least you have the history, what they have been browsing, what they have been looking. So that's the scenario.
I'd probably say, without diving too much, you're looking into the combination of things like maybe DMP, maybe analytics, and potentially then feeding into either part of the Marketing Cloud. You just need to kind of lay it out as a stack of what steps need to be captured where, and then what's the ownership of these digital properties and digital.
Thank you.
Yep, sure. Any other questions from Sydney, maybe? All right. Well, if any, no further questions, just wanted to do one announcement quickly. I'm sure that most of you...
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, from Sydney, we had a question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So one of the key differentiators from a Pardot and a Marketing Cloud perspective based on channel is that mobile connect type facility is not available in Pardot, which means that you really can't do SMS. So again, if I'm an enterprise who've actually bought into Pardot and realize, okay, I need to communicate with my customers both through email and SMS, so SMS gets dropped out. So is there integration API connectivity that Pardot provides to an SMS provider that you should be able to send out SMS, or is that a blanket now?
At this point in time, it's a blanket, but going into the future, I might rewind you mine into the CDP slide, or what it potentially could look like, right? So we might see a change in how our products sort of stack together, because like one thing we recognize, there is a difference and sort of overlap between the capabilities on CRM platforms. So especially if you talk about Service Cloud, you will see we start changing the naming convention of the products because we're trying to look into the digital engagement altogether. So we do have capability to send different messages within the Service Cloud as opposite to Marketing Cloud, and a lot of customers are asking that. Similar to that Pardot, like why do we have an email engine that sits in Pardot and we can't use Marketing Cloud engine at the same time? So right now the answer is no, we don't have a mobile experience, but going forward it might change. And that could be another one of these cases where, you combination of Marketing Cloud and Pardot could be beneficial simply because you mix these two products to give you the outcome that you're looking for a customer.
Well, I've got a question up behind you. Oh, sorry, finish up.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
What's the next step? Sorry, it started with Pardot. What's they do? How do they start?
Yeah, so it's a fantastic question. There are a few training assets that are available, like on the online. I found that through our website and whatnot. I'll probably need to kind of have a look and give you proper links to share that. I know for a fact that we do run, like through Trailhead Academy, there is a 2-day class that gives you a Pardot course and really guides you through the entire product. When I took it, it helped me to pretty much find my way through that without any troubles. And especially, as I said, if you have a Marketing Cloud experience, it's super easy to go through the tool because it gives you all the ins and outs, and it's a 2-day course. I really enjoyed it. It was really beneficial. And after that, I took the exam, so I got the certification in the next week or so. So it wasn't that difficult coming up from a Marketing Cloud background. Not sure about consulting, but that's where it's a great start. We do have ways, I'm not sure if for everyone, but I know for partners in particular, we do have ways to create you with a demo org and a training org, so you can actually spend a bit of time. And if you're the partner, then we have a learning path dedicated to Pardot. There is a bunch of resources there that can help you to get up to speed with the product, even without Trailhead classes. So you can go up online and kind of find it through. If you don't know how to find learning paths, let me know. I'll definitely make sure that you are across that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Matt, ask a question.
Yeah, sure.
Pardot, do they have UAT environments, or is it just product?
Good question. I honestly don't know. I'm not going to go into that. Because I'm pretty sure it provisions you one, but I'm not sure if it gives you the UAT. That's one of the things I want to know. You said it?
They do, yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll follow it up. I'll make sure that we prepare that. Thank you.